a Dear Media original podcast.
Today we have Elissa Goodman, nutritionist and best-selling author. I am so excited to have you today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me.
When I think about you, I really think about resilience. It's not just that you survived cancer, is that you did it holistically, and that you, every time I see you, you are like more and more radiant, and you're someone who has had a lot of tragedy in your life, especially with cancer. And I was wondering if you could speak to the cancer piece and what holistically was really helpful for you in basically healing yourself, right?
Yeah, no, that's such a good question because this still doesn't happen to this day. But when I was diagnosed with cancer, there was one doctor out of three who sat me down and said to me, do you love your life? Are you happy with yourself? Do you are you happy in your relationship? Do you love your job? I was 32 at the time. And I remember bursting into tears and being like, I don't know what happiness is. I don't even know what calm is. He was like, do you feel calm and centered and grounded? And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? So I was just busy climbing the corporate ladder, trying to make money, buy a house, like have kids. And I realized that was the biggest turning point. I can't believe 30 years ago that someone was able to do that. I wish they did that today for cancer, because that emotional component was huge. I was stressed all the time. I was in fight or flight mode, and I was just, at a hamster on a hamster wheel. And I just never gave myself that time to chill and relax and heal and all of those things we need to do.
What do you think were the things, I know that you forewent chemo and you decided not to go chemo. And I was wondering what the things that you felt were the most healing in kind of your toolkit were.
It was the emotional component of, getting myself grounded and calm. And then I started juicing. I just really devoured everything that there was out there about health and wellness, acupuncture, colonics, went to see naturopaths. I mean, I loved it all because I felt better.
Wow. I think it's really interesting that you place the emotional piece on such a high level, because I do feel like just instinctually I really believe that. There's tons of stuff that you can read that's science-based, that's, double board certified and the whole thing, but like you do really know that like when you have that emotional stuff, like you hold that in your body and like you really don't release it until you kind of get to the bottom of it. So I've always really felt that way, and I feel that way more than ever now.
I see clients all day long with cancer and autoimmune and hardcore digestive issues, and I always ask them, what's your life like? And did you have trauma growing up? We all know that, the first 7 years of your life, your subconscious is fully downloaded. So we all had some kind of trauma, and we hang on to it because we operate 90 to 95% out of our subconscious. So we're sort of recirculating these negative thoughts or these scared thoughts, or, we don't feel safe, or there's a lot going on that we don't realize that downregulates our immune system. It doesn't mean you're going to get cancer if that's,
right.
You had trauma and all that, but it has to, a lot of other factors come into play, like unhealthy diet and sleep and stress, and toxins. There's a lot to it. I don't want to scare anybody because we all did experience trauma. But I think what's so beautiful these days is that we are really diving into that side of things. And especially with like the plant medicine, which changed my life about 4 years ago.
Did it? Tell us.
Oh my God.
Let's get into it.
I know. Because I mean, it's top of everybody's mind these days. And it's kind of crazy that I had some insomnia and I couldn't lick it. I did everything I knew how to do holistically again. And I knew emotionally there was something like there that wasn't letting me, get myself calm and get myself to sleep. And so I did a psilocybin journey. And in the journey, I saw my life and how hard I am on myself
Oh.
and how nothing's good enough and how I labeled myself a sick kid or a sick person because I was always sick growing up. And then I got cancer and then I got Hashimoto's and celiac and, all these things. And I saw that what I was doing to myself emotionally, and I didn't feel like the universe had my back. I just felt I was out there alone, like I was a lone ranger. And when I realized that it did have my back and that life could be different and I could let those things go, I started sleeping again.
Oh,
And
wow.
everything changed from then on.
That is
I did more
so
journeys after
powerful.
that, but I have to say that journey was so impactful.
That is so powerful. I feel two things about that. One is that I really do, and we've talked about this before, that I do think that people worry that if they're not super hard on themselves, and if we're not super hard on ourselves, that we'll just kind of let it all go. And it's really quite the opposite, that like when we kind of accept ourselves for all of our flaws, then we can actually move forward. But the other piece about that I do think is interesting is that, I mean, you have had a lot of trauma, and I'm, just for anyone that's listening that doesn't know Elissa's story, you obviously had cancer when you were 32, and then how many years later did unfortunately your husband pass from cancer as well?
Yeah, it was like 11 and a half years later.
Wow.
So he just fought the battle for a year and a half, and he was only 43 and a half, which is so wild. He was so young. He died at 45. And then I had these two girls at
How
home,
young were they?
10 and 7.
Oh, so
And
you
I was
were
like,
on your
holy
own.
shit.
You were on your own. I mean, you have
Yeah, I was.
to be able to pick that up and have these kids and carry on and raise these girls and have this career. I mean, that takes a lot of resilience. And so I think that you probably were holding on to a ton there, where to keep that all together. And I know how you operate in the world, and you're so vibrant and radiant and positive and all of that, but like that comes at a cost.
Yeah, it did.
Think about that a lot when I see you out now, like I see you and you're always glowing and you're always like, you have such this really happy, bouncy exterior. But I've known that about you this whole time, and I've known, wow, that's a lot.
I mean, it's so crazy how that time was really rough, but now I look at it, which a lot of people do that do what we do. I'm so grateful for it because it made me, you're right, resilient and strong, but it also made me realize, wow, how powerful we are.
Yeah. I actually really relate to that, and I've just in my own life and my own struggles, I feel like there was a moment in time where I literally had to crawl out of it. And the reality is I'm actually kind of really grateful for that, because like it makes me really appreciate the really good days and the really good things. And like, obviously no one wants to struggle and no one wants to be in pain, but I do think a lot of those times that's what really teaches us like how sweet the sweet parts are, if you can have that moment. But I am glad that I do think that's interesting with the plant-based medicine. Was it guided by someone, or was it kind of like, oh, cool?
I had a shaman.
I love that.
And now everyone's talking about it wherever I go to dinner.
I know.
It's so wild.
I know.
Right. And everybody's a shaman these days.
Yeah.
There's all different plant medicines out there. I mean, it really can, alter your life in such a huge way. I feel like it was like 10 years of therapy doing that one session. And it was guided. And a lot of times I do it just one-on-one guided, because I really want to go inward and I want to learn more about myself, and I want to learn what I need to release and how I can get to the places where I want to go. We all are looking for intimacy and, happiness and just all the things in health and, well-being, but we don't really know how to get there. Externally, we're all of us are, on Instagram and TikTok telling people what supplements to take, what foods to eat, and that's all fantastic and great, because you can, get very far with that, as because that's what you do as well. But I think there's that deeper layer where just internally finding out what really makes you tick, what makes you passionate about your life, or really what makes you feel like you're important and in this world. I mean, that is so huge, I think, for when we're just tapping into that now, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. I've had my own very important spiritual journey with that type of medicine, and it was incredibly powerful, and it kind of changed my life.
Yeah.
So I can
I
really,
bet.
I can really relate to that. Especially, I've always been kind of like very buttoned up and very like always on it, never like lost control. And it was kind of this like, it helped me think about something in a different way that was really tripping me up. And it kind of set me forth on this completely different path where I was like, oh, maybe things can be different, and maybe I can be this way, and maybe things can work out. And it kind of
Right.
opened up my eyes to this like alt path that like I wasn't open to before. So I
Yeah.
very much relate to that. I wanted to talk to you about aging because you have a new book coming out, and it's about
Yes.
aging.
Yeah.
And you're obviously someone who I've always looked to as kind of this incredibly beautiful, incredibly radiant, incredibly just like forward thinking person in this field. Like, in your mind, what are the things that really help with like aging radiantly?
Good question. And yes, I hope that book comes out the end of the year or the beginning of next year, called Pro Aging Hacks. The mindset we just talked about is probably huge. Okay. The second thing is just really valuing your sleep. Sleep is so freaking important. And I think that I grew up, with a family where less sleep was a badge of honor. So that was also, the other thing. You had to get a lot of stuff done. You got to get up, work out. But nowadays, we're all realizing that we need that time to heal. And that's when your body, does heal during sleep. And women need more sleep than men because we got to restore our adrenals. So that is super crucial. And the women I talk to just don't value their sleep that much. And they have not good sleep throughout the night. And they just think that's the way it's going to be. But you can change that. Trying to watch, and eat real foods that are organic, that are clean, not a lot of processed stuff with fillers and gums and all of that. That's huge. Our body doesn't know what to do with that stuff. So that's why I created the Soup Cleanse, 8 years ago. It's just about teaching people how to eat real food that's anti-inflammatory, and you can reset your body in 5 days. And you can sleep better and digestion's better. And I think all of that is crucial. And we have an epidemic of dehydration. I mean, we have all this beautiful water at our fingertips, but we're just drinking it and peeing it out because we don't have minerals, as you know, to absorb the water into the body.
Is there a certain type of mineral that you like that you add to water?
Yeah, there is. I mean, you can actually do it with like a high quality Celtic sea salt or Himalayan salt, of course. But I use this hydrating powder that I've been using for almost 10 years. It does have a little bit of fillers in it, and it's sweetened with stevia. It's called Ultima.
I use Ultima too. We talked about Ultima a million times. I'm obsessed. I'm
Ultima.
Obsessed with Ultima.
Yes.
What's your flavor?
So I'm glad you're obsessed.
I'm glad you're obsessed.
Sometimes I feel
I'm into it because it also tastes delicious. I've gotten so many people hooked on Ultima. What's your flavor of choice?
So lemonade. In this household, it's lemonade and orange. What's yours?
I like pink lemonade and I like raspberry.
Okay.
And the problem is it makes it like a ridiculous color. But it's so funny because all my clients call it pink drink because I'm always like, I have like a giant jug of it. But it also really encourages me to drink water.
Yeah.
Do you?
And don't you feel like you feel energized?
Yeah, I do.
You feel like mentally alert when you drink that stuff. You curbs your appetite. I feel like, you're not running to the bathroom every 5 seconds, right? I mean, because you're absorbing the water.
I feel extremely hydrated. And I'm someone who I really do feel like in terms of nutrition, I really do walk the walk in terms of like everything. But drinking water is something that's hard for like it's not something that I'm like, oh yeah, let me just drink this jug of plain water all the time. Like if I'm eating dinner and I'm out, I'll like drink water with my meal, but during the day the Ultima really does help
you.
So I think that's really it does. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was, everyone's talking about Ozempic and it's on everyone's mind, and I have really mixed feelings about it because it's like I mean, it's a very new science, and we don't know what happens long term. We just did an episode this week about Ozempic rebound, and people are gaining a lot of the weight back. But beyond that, like people are losing a lot of weight without having to actually make healthy changes, and that's concerning. And then there's tons of people who are it's changing their lives and all these things. So I was curious how you felt about it.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
It makes me really nervous because it's a quick fix, just like you said. It's, they don't have any appetite, so they're not even eating.
I know.
And then of course, yeah, they're not eating healthy choice. They're not making healthy choices. And it's something you have to be on long term. And yes, 3 clients went off of it, gained all their weight back and then some.
Yeah.
They're having digestive issues, diarrhea. There's all kinds of side effects to it. I don't know. I just don't think it's worth it long term. And they're talking, I don't know if they know, specifically, but they're talking some cancer stuff it could cause.
I know, with thyroid.
The Ozempic is like, it's for people with diabetes, and the people with diabetes aren't even being able to get the drug because
I know
all of us want to be skinny. And I agree. It's just crazy. We don't need, I don't feel like skinny is that important.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I think there's plenty of people that could say that's easy for you to say. I want to just put that out there.
Yeah,
because that's true, and you do look the way you look, and I think you take incredibly good care of yourself, and you also have great genetics, I'm sure too. But yes, I do think that if you're talking about something that is purely aesthetic, that has a ton of risk involved, I've had tons of people ask me, and I'm like, can you at least let me try, help you do it the slow and steady way? Because it really does work, and you know that. Yeah. But it is an interesting conversation, and I do think I would like to hear more voices just literally being like, just remember you could actually do it the slow and steady way and do it and keep it off, and then you don't have to worry about the rebound. But I also understand, I have a celebrity client who has been dragged by the media for looking a certain way, and then all of a sudden she drops all this weight. Everyone's like, she looks amazing, she gets more clothes, it's easier to get clothes from the stylist and all this stuff. If you're not sample size, you have to buy all your own clothes for a carpet. So it really
I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. If you're a sample size, then all of that stuff is free. Anytime you're going and doing anything, you just they loan it out to you. But they don't have sizes that are bigger than that. So if you're any bigger than that, you're buying all your own clothes. And for a lot of those things, they're wearing it once.
Yeah.
So
that is hard. That is really hard. I mean, you're right. I mean, but I do believe with what I do for a living, what you do for a living, I work with a lot of functional doctors and naturopaths and integrative people that, sometimes they really can get to the root of why weight is hanging on.
Yes.
If it's thyroid issues or sugar issues or insulin resistance, right? I mean, when you can get to that root, but a lot of times out there, people aren't taking the time to get to the root. And when you find out what it is, and maybe that also is helpful, other than a healthy diet and things like that, or exercise, but really finding out, why are we holding on to this weight?
Yes, I completely agree. I think it's that. And then a lot of it, and I'm sure you feel the same way, I think for most people, it's complicated. I think most people know that they should be eating more thoughtfully, and they know that, they should be doing this or that. And it's not that they can't do it. It's that they're not doing it. And it's not because they're lazy or they don't have the ability. It's just because life gets in the way. It's busy, and it's complicated, and it's hard to think ahead of time of what you're going to make for dinner and what you're going to grab. And we have families and tragedies and all these things. So it's hard out there, but I do think it's possible. And I do like hearing a voice like yours and talking to you in this way, and knowing I do know instinctually that I do think that unless you really need it, doesn't really feel like the move.
You've probably been hearing a lot of the integrative functional doctors talking about it, right? All over the place. I mean, none of them are saying, wow, this is a good thing to do.
No.
So, but I do understand. I mean, there is that fine line. It depends on, just what's going on in your life. And if you are in the limelight, and, there's a lot, pressure
There's a lot of
these
pressure.
days.
There is a lot of pressure. The last thing I want to ask you, and I don't know, now I'm curious what it's going to be. I really want to know for you right now what's grounding you. It could be a practice or a person or truly anything. But what's grounding you?
I would say it's a practice. I actually every day I have to ground myself because I'm an Aries and a type A. So, you find me up in the clouds and quite often because I still do go a million miles an hour. So every day when I wake up in the morning, all day long, I swear I have to I put my hands on my heart and I'm always like, I'm here, I'm safe, I'm loved. And it just brings everything down and calms me down. It brings me to the presence, to being present. Because I so much am a forward thinker and, have so much I want to do because I have so much energy, but I also want to be present. And I would say definitely I have to do that all day long. I mean, it never ends.
Yeah.
When I wake up in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
in the morning, or in the middle of the day when things are a little crazy, it's super important for me to just get myself back in my body.
I love that. I think that that's so important and special and healthy. And I also, as you were talking and I was just watching you speak, I am so excited for your book, Pro Aging Hacks, because I think we would all, we should all be so lucky to age as Elissa Goodman has.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want everybody to age.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that.
That's my goal.
I'm glad you said, no, it is a privilege to age. Oh, you can be really radiant and really vibrant and wise and beautiful and the whole thing and it all builds. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.